Hello, my patrons and YouTube channel members. Today, we have a quick supporter-exclusive video from my recent trip to VCF MidWest. Last year was my first time attending this event, and this year was my first time as an exhibitor. On the 24-hour round-trip drive from Washington, D.C. to Chicago, Illinois, I encountered Indiana's Meadow Lake wind farm that stretches for miles and miles and has over 400 turbines making 800 megawatts of power. We also encountered good eats throughout the trip, including some excellent hand-pulled noodles in Columbus, Ohio. Before all the excitement began, we took a day to explore Chicago, including Garfield Park Conservatory shown here. We also logged 25,000 steps walking from the city center to Chinatown, only to discover that there was a water taxi that would have taken us straight there. On Friday, exhibitor setup began at around noon. Having outgrown the prior facilities, the organizers secured this new venue that featured a much larger event space and a nicer hotel. To transport my exhibit, I rented a Toyota RAV4, but was instead given this behemoth of a full-size truck. Surprisingly, it got about 35 miles per gallon throughout the trip. It also had cargo space to spare, which made packing everything a breeze. I would have had to stack things a lot higher in a crossover, so I think it worked out pretty well. By mid-afternoon, things were starting to get busy as exhibitors arrived and started setting up their tables. The hall featured a dedicated loading dock, which was great because at any given time, 20 or more cars were trying to unload their bulky payloads of CRTs and heavy iron. Several vendors showed up with entire U-Haul trucks full of stuff to sell. Big thanks to a stranger named, I want to say Greg, who was in possession of one of the highly coveted carts and offered to help me unload. Anyone who attended last year's event or saw videos afterwards knows that it was jam-packed elbow to elbow in the hallways. The new space is almost 4 times larger, allowing many more exhibitor tables and still giving everyone much needed breathing room. My table was here at KO5, perfectly situated close to the loading dock, concession stand, and bathrooms. To the left was David Murray, the 8-bit guy. To my right was Adrian Black from the Digital Basement, so as you can imagine, there was a lot of foot traffic in the area. For my exhibit, I featured 3 past projects from the channel, starting with the Evo 64. I had it set up with a custom cartridge containing a curated list of stereo music. An AB switch allowed listeners to toggle between real SIDs with the new Tube 64 preamp and the FPGA SIDs on the Ultimate 2 Plus. Each system had a printed placard with background information along with instructions on how to use them. I also had new business cards and vinyl stickers printed for people to take. The next system on display was my Amiga 3000 fan subbing setup. It ran like a champ all weekend, overlaying time scripts on top of a Laserdisc source in real time. Many an old-school anime viewer was surprised and delighted to learn how the tapes they watched back in the day were made, so mission accomplished. Finally, I had the X68000 running a custom hard disk image with a curated list of software, pictures, and music for showgoers to try out. All told, hundreds of people stopped by to listen, play, and ask questions. It was great seeing so much enthusiasm and interest by both young and old alike that it really made the 100+ hours of preparation worth it. As soon as the doors opened to the public on Saturday morning, the place was buzzing with frenetic energy. I was tied to my table most of the weekend, so I didn't get to film that much, but here are a few of the highlights. An entire telephone exchange was set up, and exhibitors could be wired in with their own number. Service was just a call away, and a tech in a hard hat was dispatched. In one corner, a video game and pinball arcade was set up. In another, a LAN party area. Speaking of which, I played a game of Doom on a man's hat. Here, a soldering workshop was in progress. And it wouldn't be a VCF event without a free pile. CRTs. Nothing to add here, I was just mesmerized by the blinking lights. This brings back memories. Atari 8 and 16-bit systems were well represented this year. Dare I say, more so than Commodore. I know, right?
Hey guys, guess what? My name is Alvin Breff and I'm one of the Patreons of Matt D'Amico, and we want to welcome you here to VCF MidWest. If you're not out here, you're missing out because this place has everything.
Before we wrap up, here's some swag that I picked up at the event. Now, I didn't get out on the floor very often because I was kind of stuck at my table for most of the event, but some people did stop by and I ran into some others in passing, so it was great to see a bunch of familiar faces from last year's event and meet some new folks for the first time. Speaking of which, I did run into Ron from Ron's Computer Videos, and I got the sticker from him as well as this audio CD that he had made. I also ran into Jamie from Jamie's Hack Shack, and he gave me these stickers here. It was great to see you again, Jamie, and thank you for your Patreon support. Also with him was Steven from Retro Combs. He's got this keychain ornament or maybe Christmas decoration. It's made out of hard plastic. That's pretty cool. I also ran across Deadline from Citizen. I got his sticker and a little pin from him. Adrian from Adrian's Digital Basement was right next door to me, and he has new stickers this year, so I got that as well. Ran into Steve from Mac84, got the sticker from him, and the Memory Machine podcast stopped by. And I'm not familiar with this, but here's their information. I'll be checking it out, so that's pretty cool. And finally, I ran into Matthew Desmond from Factor of Matt. If you don't remember Matthew Desmond, he was the creator of DesTerm 128, one of the killer apps for the Commodore 128 that I used all the time when I was growing up. So what's really cool is Matt is returning to the world of the Commodore 64, and he's developed some new products, including this DesTest Max cartridge, which is still in prototype, but this here is a beta version that he gave to me to try out, and what it is an improved Commodore 64 dead test. It's an all-new, from the ground up, reimagining of how a Commodore 64 dead test will work, and it does a lot more intuitive testing and displaying of what's going on with your dead Commodore 64. So I will be testing this out in a future video, and it's still under active development, but that's really cool, and he's doing this and a number of other projects for the Commodore. So look forward to what he comes up with next. Pretty awesome. One other thing that I picked up while I was there was this Pico Gus from Joe's Computer Museum. He was selling these at his table, and I did get to meet Ian, its creator, and chat with him a little bit while we were there too. I'm planning on using this in an upcoming 486 build, and if you're not familiar, this is kind of like a software-defined Pi Pico Gravis ultrasound, but it also adds additional capabilities like MIDI support. So we've got that kind of roll-in support built into it as well, like the MPU 401. So looking forward to trying this out and seeing what capabilities this brings to my 486 build. So look forward to that as well. Last but not least, organizer and channel supporter Jim Leonard graciously invited me to participate on the YouTube discussion panel this year. It was my first time doing something like this, so I was nervous at first, but both the audience and other panelists were awesome, and Jim did a great job moderating the discussion, so the jitters quickly disappeared, and I ended up having a lot of fun.
The FPGA projects are really about preservation as well, and they are, decapping arcade boards and reverse engineering it, documenting it, so it's awesome.
So that's a wrap on another VCF Midwest. I had a blast as a first-time exhibitor and panelist. The new venue was amazing, and the amount of interest and enthusiasm from the participants was off the charts, making the whole effort worthwhile. I'd like to thank the organizers for all of their hard work, and a special thank you goes to Jim for the opportunity to exhibit and be on stage with some of the big dogs of the vintage computer scene. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you for your ongoing support of the channel, which allows me to do things like this in the first place. Until next time, I've been Matt D'Amico, and thank you for watching.